So today, I'm going to attempt to impart 80 plus hours worth of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet wisdom unto you, dear viewer. Now, because I know many people are trying to avoid any spoiling in this very spoiler-heavy time, I'm going to do my best to not reveal any Pokemon or story events that haven't been covered in official marketing material like the trailers and website. That being said, new items, game mechanics, and general locations are fair game. I spent countless hours wandering around Paldea, clicking every rock, fumbling through menus, and reading hours worth of NPC dialogue to find out all the important stuff, so you don't have to. Whether you're a casual Pokemon player, veteran competitive battler, seasoned shiny hunter, or hardcore completionist, by the end of this video, you'll know the answers to almost every question that might derail your adventure, like, where do I buy the good items? Or, what the hell are sandwiches? Or, how does shiny Pokemon work? And that's actually a great place to start, because many players are tempted into a dangerous trap right at the beginning of their adventure, resetting for a shiny starter. Don't do this. It's hard-coded to never be shiny. You will be wasting your time. However, if you're super committed to playing through the entire game with a shiny starter, you can soft reset to get a female starter with a 12.5% chance. Just make sure to disable autosave and turn the text speed to fast when you start the game. This will enable you to start breeding starter eggs as soon as you can make picnics after completing the introduction at the academy. Otherwise, you'll need to wait until you can find Ditto, who isn't available until later in the game outside Porto Marinata. I have a video in the works detailing how to get the best odds of obtaining a shiny starter at the earliest possible point in the game, so click subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of when that goes live. So, how does breeding work? Well, almost anywhere in the world you can press 2 buttons and start a picnic. You just put the Pokemon you'd like to breed in your party, start a picnic, and if they are compatible, eggs have a chance of appearing in a basket. Breeding mechanics themselves are unchanged. Ball inheritance, Masuda method, Everstones, Destiny knots, all these function exactly like Sword and Shield, so seasoned breeders will feel right at home. Once you reach the post-game, all the breeding items can be bought at Chansey Supply or Delibird Presents. Egg generation happens automatically, and the basket can hold up to 10 eggs. Without any buffs, this can take a while, but that's where sandwiches come in. By eating at restaurants or making sandwiches at your picnic, you can receive crazy useful buffs. I ignored these for the first 20 or so hours, but I wish I hadn't. The egg power fills your egg basket faster, and level 2 is crazy fast and very easy to get. You just need to be able to make the Ultra Peanut Butter Sandwich. There's a variety of powers such as increasing experience gains, item drops, and spawn rates for certain types. You can receive increased raid rewards, increased odds of finding large or tiny sized Pokemon, and even the odds of finding marked and shiny Pokemon can be buffed. By combining the right ingredients in custom recipes, you can create super perfect sandwiches. These basically let you create mass custom outbreaks anywhere with insane boosted shiny odds, but more on that later. After picking your starter and meeting your rival, there's a brief exploratory section which is supposed to keep you confined to a relatively small area. However, if you want to risk bugging your story progression in exchange for access to more of the map, you can do this neat little terrain skip. Starting from the first village, we run around the side of the cliff here and go up as high as we can. Then, we follow the wall and find this cliff with a very small gap that you just can't seem to jump over. However, if you hold ZL and lock onto a Pokemon over the ledge like this, and then ZR to throw your Pokeball, then sometimes your character will teleport over to the other side. Don't you just love open world games? I spent far too long trying to capture a level 22 Riolu, assuming Pokemon I'd captured myself would always obey. They do not. Obedience is dependent on Met level, so with 0 badges, only Pokemon you've caught below level 20 will listen. So, if you happen to find a level 19 Pokemon after doing this little teleporting trick, it will obey you for the rest of the game. If you wanted, you could grind your low-level Pokemon all the way to level 100 here before even starting the story. I'd recommend not doing this, however, and instead just head straight to the school. It's a bit of a text box marathon and takes about 30 minutes. However, it unlocks all 3 main plots, and once it's over, the entire world of Paldea awaits. As advertised, you can progress through the game in almost any order. There are 8 gyms to conquer, 5 Team Star bases to besiege, and 5 Titans to slay. Your map will actually keep track of the order you completed them in, which I think is a cool little feature to reminisce about your adventure. Winning gym badges will make higher level Pokemon obedient. Defeating Team Star bosses earn you LP and unlock better TMs to craft, and quelling the Titans will unlock new movement abilities for your legendary bicycle. Like me, you might be tempted to slay all the Titans first and gain the ability to swim, jump, climb, and glide around anywhere and everywhere. However, be aware there is no level scaling. You'll either run into a grinding wall or overlevel to the point where all the earlier areas become a boring nuisance to complete. And in order to reach the ending, you need to complete all 3 storylines anyway, so best not to favor one too much and instead try to progress all 3 plots together naturally. And that's the last I'll speak of story progression. Instead, let's talk about Pokemon. How do they work? How do I find shiny Pokemon? How do I make them strong? All great questions. First and foremost, in Scarlet and Violet, all Pokemon can perform terastallization, which is a ridiculous 6-syllable word that I've taken to shortening as just Terralize. When activated, the Pokemon dons a silly-looking crystal Kirby hat that corresponds to one of the 18 types. When a Pokemon's Tera type matches one of its main types, moves of that type have their power boosted by 2 times instead of the normal 1.5 times same type attack bonus. If they have multiple types, they retain their 1.5x stab boost on the other type offensively, but defensively they effectively become a monotype. However, it's possible to give any Pokemon any Tera type via a late game NPC. Take my Dragonite here for example. He's dragon flying, but I changed his Tera type to normal. When Terralized, he becomes a normal type, gaining a 1.5x stab boost on his extreme speed, and keeping the 1.5x stab boost to his dragon and flying attacks. But once again, defensively he is now pure normal, immune to ghost, weak to fighting, no more 4x weakness to ice. When out exploring, you can Terralize one time before needing to recharge at the nearest Poke Center or Raid Den, and in competitive battles, it's one use only. Needless to say, giving everyone a surprise wildcard Pokemon with either 3 stab types or adaptability damage on one type is going to shake things up. So, how do you acquire such Pokemon? Well, there are 4 main ways to encounter Pokemon in this game. Number 1, wild encounters. These spawn everywhere, all around you, constantly within a set radius. Number 2, mass outbreaks. These will periodically get marked on your map and spawn a massive number of a single Pokemon. Great for shiny hunting. Number 3, Tera encounters. These are special static encounters that appear in set locations and come with a special Tera type, egg moves, and some guaranteed perfect stats. And finally, number 4, Tera raid Pokemon. These appear as little crystal dens marked all over your map. They range from 1 to 7 star in difficulty and can be completed solo or with friends. Wild Pokemon and Outbreak Pokemon can be battled in 2 ways. The traditional method, by either running into them directly or throwing your Pokemon with ZR. Or the new auto battle feature. By pressing R1, you can send out your lead Pokemon and they'll just start going to town. Pokemon battled in this way cannot be caught, they drop TM crafting materials, give some XP, cause 0 EVs to be gained, and 0 PP to be lost. You can recall your Pokemon at any time by pressing ZR. Now, you might be worried, what if my Pokemon auto KOs a shiny? Fear not. Your Pokemon will outright refuse to auto battle a shiny. I tested it myself, they just kinda bounce off. So, auto battling constantly provides a steady stream of extra EXP and crafting materials with no downside. However, an important thing to note about shiny Pokemon in the wild is that there is no visible sparkle or sound effect a la Legends Arceus. You have to enter a battle with them to see the shine, so brush up on those shiny colors and keep a watchful eye. With how many Pokemon are spawning around you constantly in this game, there could be a shiny nearby at any time. However, if you do find a shiny, do not panic. Just save your game nearby. All the Pokemon around you are saved too, so once you have a shiny on screen, you can keep trying until you catch it. If you'd like to take advantage of a fun shiny hunting trick early on, the boundaries of towns cause all nearby Pokemon to despawn. By walking in and out of towns, you can rack up encounters of the local common Pokemon very quickly. You can also clear spawns by just starting up a picnic or running far enough away. However, be warned that if you see a shiny despawn, you cannot get it back. In contrast, Tera encounters function more like alpha Pokemon in Legends Arceus. Once they spawn, the Pokemon's data becomes fixed and won't change until defeated. So don't try soft resetting in front of one. Otherwise, these are very useful because unlike regular wild Pokemon, they can have non-standard Tera types and some guaranteed perfect stats. Lastly, we have raid Pokemon, which are sure to be a core part of every player's gameplay loop. I won't go into the deep details of how the raid battles work, because it's fun to learn how these new fights function on your own. However, what I will tell you is that raids are the best way to acquire Pokemon with unique Tera types, hidden abilities, and perfect IVs. They can also be quite challenging. Until I had level 90 plus Pokemon with fully trained EVs, I could not tackle 6-star raids alone, period. The official website even revealed that there's a special 7-star level 100 Dragon-type Charizard event happening shortly after launch, which is sure to be almost impossible to defeat with NPC companions. To truly farm, you'd likely need an armada of level 100 perfect Pokemon with many different Tera types. Not an easy task. However, the rewards are well worth the investment. In addition to providing a steady supply of EXP candies, raids also reward the player with a special item called Tera shards, which are used to change Pokemon's Tera types in Nidali City. High-level raids are also the only way to obtain the rare shiny boosting sandwich materials and the coveted ability patch. This lets you give any Pokemon, including the starters, their otherwise unobtainable hidden ability. If you're a true Mad Lad, they also made it so the ability patch removes hidden abilities. Expensive, but nice to have the option. So, the best rewards come from difficult high-level raids, but how on earth do you get level 100 perfect Pokemon? Aren't they insanely rare and time-consuming? Indeed, that used to be the case, but things have taken a major leap forward this generation thanks to the complete annihilation of a series staple that's been around since Ruby and Sapphire: battle points. Nearly everything competitively useful in the game can be purchased for normal in-game money at reasonable prices, except for the EV reducing berries, the previously mentioned Tera crystals, and ability patches. Bottle caps, PP ups, leftovers, choice items, nature mints, power bands, all buyable at the various Chansey Supply and Delibird present stores located around Paldea. Their stock gradually expands as you gain badges, and for Delibird presents, different cities have different battle items in stock, so shop around. Hyper training can be used at level 50. The NPC for doing so can be found up in the mountain village standing next to an Obama Snow. As long as you're constantly auto-battling, picking up items, collecting raid rewards, selling treasures, and trading in crafting materials, you should be raking in money. Oh wait, we haven't talked about crafting materials yet? Well, this is the perfect time because a perfect competitive Pokemon is nothing without good moves. Making a welcome return from Legends Arceus is the ability to learn, forget, and relearn moves on the fly all within your party menu, as well as nicknaming. Unfortunately, in exchange, we return back to single-use TMs, but it's not all bad. This time around, TMs have a special machine at every Pokemon Center. As you play through the game, you'll unlock the recipes for TM crafting, which can be made with the Pokemon materials dropped in battle along with the game's second currency, League Points, or LP. The prices and recipes are very reasonable and ask for easily obtainable quantities of the materials. LP can be used interchangeably with normal money, but you get more LP for redeeming Pokemon materials at the TM machine than you do for selling them outright, and TMs can only be crafted with LP. Though in the endgame, you can get 1,000 plus LP just for touching a raid den, so you won't be hurting for this either. Once you've taught a Pokemon a TM, it can be forgotten and relearned like any other move, very useful for switching up movesets for a difficult raid on the fly. Another welcome returning feature is the ability to transfer egg moves from Pokemon to Pokemon without the need for actually hatching an egg. Not a lot of people knew about this in Sword, Shield, and BDSP based on the comments on some of my earlier videos, so leave a like if you knew all along, or comment a mind blown emoji if you have no idea what I'm talking about. In Sword, Shield, and BDSP, egg moves can be passed between Pokemon of the same species by leaving an empty move slot on the recipient and putting them both in the daycare. At first, I thought this feature was removed completely, and I was very upset, but it turns out they actually made it even better. Egg moves can now be passed by Pokemon of completely different species. All you need to do is make your Pokemon hold the new Mirror Herb item, which is buyable in Cascarafa. Then just have it forget a move and bring it into a picnic with a Pokemon who knows the move already. I was fortunate enough to find a shiny Bisharp, and I was heartbroken when I thought I could never get Sucker Punch onto it. However, with the new Mirror Herb system, I didn't even need to hatch a single egg. It goes without saying that all these improvements make getting perfect competitive Pokemon significantly faster and easier, and I'm hopeful it will encourage more people to step into the battling scene without fear of being steamrolled by Oak's lab-grown GMO Super Soldier Mons. There still doesn't seem to be a rusty bottle cap kind of feature to reduce IVs to 0 for strategies like Trick Room, and ability patches are quite rare, but definitely a major step forward for competitive accessibility. I also would have liked the IV Judge function to be given earlier on, but instead it's unlocked the first time you heal at a Pokemon Center after completing all the quest lines. And with that, we've established all the fundamentals of the core gameplay loop of Scarlet and Violet. Capture Pokemon, buff your encounters, experience, and loot drops using meal powers, level up the Pokemon by doing battles and raids, use the loot from battles and raids to get rich, buff your Pokemon further with TMs, EVs, mints, and hyper training to defeat the stronger raids, and repeat as needed until your arsenal of Pokemon can handle 6-star raids of every type. If you want to really optimize your grinding, then you can utilize date skipping to your advantage. Most in-game events use the internal day and night cycle, which is disconnected from your Switch date and time, and I haven't found an easy way to manipulate manipulate it. However, the Tera raids and Outbreaks cycle every real world day. By pressing home and going into the system menu and moving the date forward one day, you can reset the whole map and get all new raid dens and Outbreaks. This is insanely useful because once you unlock 6-star raids, only one will appear on the map per real world day. If you get one that's a bad matchup for all the Pokemon you have, then you either need to pray for perfect NPC allies, wait another day, or just date skip. The thought of this might cause Sword and Shield raid veterans to recoil at the potential return of shiny raid RNG manipulation, but thanks to seasoned data miner Anubis, we now know the Tera raids receive no buffs to shiny chance. They are also using cryptographically secure RNG, which means it's nearly impossible to break them open without full-on hacking and risking a ban. I'll miss raid RNG manipulation, but I anticipate having a blast farming with viewers and Twitch subs. So if you'd like to hang out and play Pokemon with me, follow me over at twitch.tv/PapaJefe. Coming up with optimal strategies, farming all the sweet endgame loot, loading our boxes with juicer Pokemon, it's gonna be a fun grind. But then what? Well, the logical next step would be to build a competitive team and start diving into PvP battling. That's 100% what I'll be doing over the coming months, and I look forward to trying out the official VGC doubles format, as well as 6v6 singles, even though Game Freak refuses to allow custom rule sets for Wi-Fi battles and forces a 20-minute timer. I still think it will be a good time. Oh, but what's that I hear?
Mr. PapaJefe, I don't care about battles or raids. I don't care about EVs and PPs. Why should I care?
Oh right, the Pokedex rewards. There are actually two systems in games for getting rewards with the Pokedex. The first is in the biology lab of the school, which is the traditional Pokedex evaluation, and the second is actually within the Pokedex itself. Just press X inside the Dex to see upcoming milestones and their rewards. You can get rare Pokeballs like the Apricorn and Beast Balls this way. The only other way to get these rare balls is by random auction in Puerto Marinarda, and you should check these auctions often because they also offer key items like the Rotom catalog. But of course, yes, you can get the shiny charm and increase your odds of finding a shiny in the wild up to 1 in 1365. However, that's nothing when compared to super perfect sandwiches. Throughout most of the game, making sandwiches and eating meals is just a nice add-on. It's nothing game-breaking, just a solid buff to the rewards for various activities. You learn new recipes by buying ingredients, talking to certain NPCs, and they provide buffs that are good, but not great. An encounter power fire level 1 here, an experience power grass level 1 there. Some of the more complex recipes provide stronger level 2 buffs, and you can even boost the chances of Pokemon having marks and titles. But from the beginning of the game, right in the adventure guide, they advertise a very interesting power. The sparkling power increases the odds of finding shiny Pokemon. For 80 hours, I was wandering around in the dark trying to activate this power, and none of the recipes had it. None of the restaurants had it. The only clue I had was the rare ingredient drops from 5-star and 6-star raids, the Herba Mystica. It comes in 5 different flavors, and delivering them to this NPC in the sandwich shop unlocks master level recipes, but still, no sparkling power. And then, finally, the time is nigh. The absolute mad lad on GBA Temp figured it out. By going off recipe and instead using creative mode, you can roll the dice on getting custom buffs. There are probably thousands of combinations, but it turns out that by combining multiple flavors of the rare Herba Mystica together, you can get the sparkling power at level 3. Up until this point, I didn't even know level 3 buffs were possible, but it gets even crazier. Thanks to the help of another GBA Temp user, Nanikos, they cracked the code and created the ultimate sandwich recipe for every single type. Sparkling power 3, title power 3, and encounter power 3. Most meal powers are scattered in terms of levels and types, but these simple recipes roll the same type for every buff. And the combination of encounter power 3, title power 3, and sparkling power 3 means that your target Pokemon is spawning constantly as long as you're in the right area. I've since done some testing and found alternatives to the 2x salty herb recipes because salty herbs are needed for every type and thus the most valuable. I've tested this buff many times now, and all I had to do was lapse around this lake where Paldean Wooper spawns. I just kept turning my camera around to check for shiny Wooper, and it was normal to have 10 to 20 Wooper on screen at any time. I found 2 shiny Wooper in 30 minutes, and the only other poison spawn was Toxel, which I also found shiny in the same run. That's 3 shiny Pokemon in 30 minutes, but sometimes I'd get no shiny Pokemon in 30 minutes. The nice thing is that you can just save before eating the sandwich and reset if you don't find a shiny and try again. Anubis recently confirmed the shiny rates on Twitter, and just sparking level 3 gives a 1 in 1024 chance without the shiny charm. And while this buff doesn't affect eggs, by combining sparkling power level 3 with Outbreaks, you can get wild encounter odds equal to that of the Masuda method. Outbreaks automatically spawn massive quantities of a single Pokemon and can be cycled easily using a date skip. Since the Outbreaks force a single Pokemon to spawn, you don't need the encounter power and thus can use your less useful Bitter Herba Mystica to get Sparkling level 3 and farm these Outbreaks. According to Anubis' data mine, once you've KO'd 60 Pokemon in the Outbreak using auto battles or normal KOs, the shiny rate is maximized. From there, you can eat your shiny sandwich and use the picnic respawning trick I mentioned earlier to generate new Pokemon without depleting the rest of the Outbreak. You could theoretically keep doing this until you got 30 plus shinies and the Outbreak ends. So even if you're a dedicated shiny hunter or casual collector, it's worth getting some strong Pokemon who can handle high level raids in order to farm these elusive mystic herbs. With the shiny charm, Outbreaks, and super sandwiches, I could see 5 plus shinies per hour being possible. That's comparable to how fast I can find shinies using RNG manipulations in older games, with just in-game buffs. If you're new to this channel and have no idea what that means, then allow me to recommend this video essay I made on the topic. I'm really proud of the work I put into this, and heck, if you made it this far, you must be at least a little interested. But be warned, the Pokemon RNG rabbit hole runs deep, and I can't promise you'll be the same when you return.